Subscribe to Breakthrough Gaming and get your chance to win a copy, limited copy, Last of Us 2, which I'm not in.
The hug.
Oh,
Man,
there you go, buddy.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Keep watching.
How's it going, guys? Welcome to Breakthrough Gaming. In today's The Last of Us Part 2 video, we're going to be talking about two topics of this game. First and foremost, I do want to announce that the next round of winners are going to be announced tomorrow, June 11th, 2020. Now, with that said, if you do end up winning, you will be DM'd, and you can either pick a physical copy or a digital copy. If for some reason you do not want The Last of Us Part 2, I am deciding to give people the chance to redeem themselves with a Ghost of Tsushima copy or a Cyberpunk 2077. If you don't like those games, then you're gonna be out of luck, and I suggest that you just end up getting one of The Last of Us Part 2 copies. With that said, let's proceed. In today's video, we have some crazy information. We have an interview between Neil Druckmann and GQ where a variety of things were stated, including a potential Last of Us Part 3. Yes, I just stated a third part for the Last of Us series. I'm not saying that this is 100% confirmed, but just the fact alone that Neil Druckmann has even discussed it, period, before the Last of Us Part 2 got released, tells me that there is a good potential, and I have to emphasize that word, potential, possibility of us getting to continue to experience Ellie or Joel down the road. Now, one of the main things that I wanted to explain to people is that, again, time jumping is going to be a crucial factor of the Last of Us Part 2, so even if our beloved characters don't have a story to continue telling, there are still many routes that we can take. For example, the missing 20 years of Joel. That could be a potential route that they could take with a third part of the Last of Us series. So let's proceed with a quote between Neil Druckmann, the vice president of Naughty Dog, and the interviewer from GQ magazine. Now, keep in mind, this interview was almost like a hangout. So as they were hanging out, they were talking back and forth to each other. And I quote, "On the drive back to the studio, I ask if he's nervous about the game almost being in the hands of millions." And Neil Druckmann replied with, "Fuck, yes, I'm nervous." And he talks about how stoked he is for the challenge of writing for HBO. It really let us focus on the characters and the drama and show you other aspects of those characters, he stated. In terms of what's next for Naughty Dog, he has some plans, ideas swirling around. As you start wrapping things up creatively, there are fewer and fewer responsibilities. And my mind can't help but think about the next thing, he stated. So yeah, the next thing could be a third part, the next thing could be some new IP. Ultimately, the best idea wins. Now, what I think is amazing about this is that he's not completely pushing away the idea of continuing this legacy. At the same time, he's not completely jumping on it just yet, which I think it's a very wise and mature decision. Sure, he could continue on with the bandwagon and continue to get hundreds of millions of dollars for the company, and a few million of those guaranteed will end up in his pocket inevitably. So he could have taken that route, but again, he is choosing to take the route of going with what is more creative, going with what I quote is more worth it. So with that said, that is pretty impressive. Now, in the interview, there are some things that are worth mentioning, and this is, in my opinion, very good for Naughty Dog, especially after all the hatred that was taking place. One of the segments in the interview stated, "Sitting back in his corner office, for the last time, we watched some live focus tests as he shows me the latest average scores, 4.7. The team is still pushing for that of 4.8 or 4.9, maybe even a perfect 5. Then, shutting the blinds, closing the door, and turning the TV up super loud, we played the whole thing out. More than a half a decade of teamwork, of time, of patience, of faith, of convincing the team that this will work, of convincing myself that this will work, of convincing, and whoever this guy is, Pearl Jam that it'll work. Now, of performance capture sessions, of late night rewrites, of nauseating bug fixes, of endless level reviews, of unexpected delays, of unprecedented pandemics, of leaks, of abuse from so-called fans, all in a game that, is Druckmann's words, says something about violence, justice, adversity, and trauma. A game that tops the original just like its namesake. The game's final scene hangs still for the longest time, then cuts to black. Druckmann sits forward and looks at me, his hair a little grayer, his smile wider than ever. "So, what do you think?" he asked. And Neil Druckmann replied with, "I think it might have been worth it." That's a sick interview. And I know that at this point, it's Neil Druckmann's job to try and make this look as good as possible. Obviously, I'm going to judge it for myself on the 19th. But again, from the looks of it, this game really is a masterpiece. And it's one thing for one reviewer to come out into the public and give it a 5-star. It's another thing for hundreds of reviewers to have already spoken about this game on a level and on such a high pedigree of respect and such a high level of intricacy that everyone claims that this game has. There's supposed to be so many details to the customization, to the environment mechanics, to the weapon system, to the enemy system, to the damn dogs that are in the game. I mean, it's so far, it looks marvelous. I'm very excited and I cannot wait until June 19th, 2020.